Welcome back to another episode of Procrastination Garage. My name's Matt. Alright, we've been procrastinating. We were last working on the mower on Saturday. We didn't do anything on Sunday, and then on Monday, Tuesday, and earlier today we went away to our cabin to spend a couple days relaxing. So now we need to get back to work on the mower because tomorrow I need to mow our property here. So I need a new drive belt put on there, and I've got those new exhaust manifold gaskets. I'd like to get those put on. So let's get to work. The easiest thing to do is going to be changing the drive belt. I say that I don't know. The problem is, in order to change the drive belt, we've got to get the mower deck off and out from underneath the mower. And as you can see, I just don't have a whole lot of room in this bay to work, but this is where we're going to do it. So let's get it disconnected and dragged out of the way. First thing we want to do is we want to lower the deck down as low as we can. So that's this lever here. Push it over, down, and that. With the deck down, we've got some clips. There's one there and there's one up there, and we only need to remove one of them, and I don't remember which. And then there's a matching one on the other side, and then up at the front there's one down there. We need to remove that too, and then should remove tension on the belt drive for the mower deck. But I think if I get the deck unhooked and just slide it forward, that'll take care of the belt tension. And then when we redo it and we put it all back together, we'll have to figure out a different way. So I'm just going to go ahead and get those clips undone. There's one. I think I'm going to go ahead and do this clip here. Got the pin pulled from the left side. So this back one here was being stubborn, so I ended up pulling the pin on the front one, and that let me drop it all the way down. Now I'll be able to get the drive belt off that pulley. Success! There you can see the drive belt. See, the thing's pretty well wore out. Definitely time to change it. So that pulley right there needs to come to the left-hand side of the tractor so we can loosen the tension and get that drive belt up and over that pulley. Hopefully you can see it. Anyway, I got it loose. The next issue is getting it off of the clutch up front. And there's a couple things you got to do. One, there's a electrical connector right up there we got to disconnect. And then that metal bracket coming around, we've got to remove that. I don't know if you can tell or not, but the bracket is gone, as is the electrical. They're both hanging right over here. So now we just need to thread the belt around and drop it down that way. It's time to bring in the big guns. I had to jack the front end up a little bit because I need to use the impact to get the bolt that holds the clutch on, because I'm going to have to get the clutch off in order to get the belt loose. At least so it appears. You know, I could read the owner's manual, but nothing comes easy. The clutch came off easy, that's no problem. But we still got to get that belt off. You can see they got these metal pieces, tabs bent up there. There's not enough clearance to get the belt between the tab and the pulley. And the ones on the side, I could bend those back enough, but there's one that wraps around the front here. So it must be that pulley's supposed to drop down, but it doesn't want to slide easily. There's a keyway there. Let me see what I can find in the way of a puller and see if I can pull that thing down. This is the hardest belt I think I've ever changed. My Craftsman mowers were a lot easier than this. I'm not proud of my methods, but in the end I went with brute force. And the tabs here, this one across the front, and the one over on this side, I just beat them out of the way with a big ass hammer. This front one, I almost think that probably a service tech would come in and just cut up across here and remove this one, because I don't think it's really necessary. But the problem is, well, as I was trying to pull on that pulley using a pulley puller, I was afraid I was going to damage the pulley. And if I did that, then I'm really hosed. So I decided to just beat those pieces of metal out of the way so I can get the belt off. So I'll have to look online a little bit and see how other people are doing it. That's probably not the preferred way, but you know what? Sometimes that's just what you got to do. And when I put the new belt on, I'll bend those tabs back a little bit. Because the idea is the tabs are supposed to make it so the belt can't fall off. The belt is tight enough to where it probably isn't an issue, but I'll go ahead and pound at least the side ones back on. And I'm not sure about the front one yet. So luckily these belts don't have to be serviced that often. And now that I've done it once, it won't be so bad. And again, maybe I'll look at YouTube or read the owner's manual and see what the proper way of doing it is. That's an idea. I'm not sure what you can see back there. There's a pulley, and there's kind of a fan on top of it, and the belt just has to get over the top of the fan. And the problem is there was the belt was too tight to get over it before, so it had to be the part that came off last, and it'll have to be the part that goes on first. And just when you think you're close, see that bolt right there? There's a pulley on top of that, and I've got to get the pulley loose so I can get the belt around it, the old belt off and the new belt on. It's very critical to make sure the routing's right. So I've got to be real careful when I do this to make sure I don't route the new belt incorrectly. If you look at all the grass and dirt and stuff that's under there, there is the old belt. This thing royally kicked my ass. I showed you the one bolt with the pulley on top. I got it out. There's a mechanism up on top. Everything came out. At one point it fell on me. Then I had a spring. I don't even know where the spring's at. I'm not sure. Must be that spring right there. I disconnected it, but then I lost track of where the other end of it went. And the little metal tab that holds it came out. And so it's been a royal pain. Like I said, I've been at this for over an hour. Just seconds for you guys, but over an hour for me. But I finally got it all back together. And got it around there. I don't know. I think everything's where it's supposed to be. I'm going to bend these tabs back a little bit, and then I'm going to put the clutch back on. Clutch is back in. The this little piece right here is back. Electrical's hooked up. Everything's up out of the way. It's just about 7 o'clock at night, so I'm wrapping up for the night. I'm going to take it for a quick spin to make sure the belt is working and routed right. And then tomorrow morning I'll put the mower deck back on. This has been a royal pain in the butt. Choke on. Mower's back in the shop for the night. Tomorrow we'll put the deck back on. Seems to drive just fine. Certainly has more snap to it. I don't know if that's the right word or not, but I could tell that old belt was on its way out. So this one is doing much better. I swept up a little. There's the pile. I'm afraid to pick it up because if there's a nut or a bolt or something in there that I need, I'd like to know where it is. So we'll resume in the morning. It's the next morning, Friday to be exact. And I got to tell you, that mower yesterday was just kicking my butt. you know, rarely do I get so frustrated with a project that I just kind of have a little tantrum. You know, you see people throwing tools and stuff. That's not me. I've never been like that. Usually I just work through it. But oh boy, I came out from under there one time yesterday and I was just fit to be tied. The whole thing had kind of fallen apart, and then on top of that, some piece had came out that I had no clue what they were or where they went, and so then I was in a panic to figure out where those were going to go. In the end, I got it all back together and I'm feeling better. Just need to get the mower deck on there. I need to mow. I've got about an hour before I got to start mowing, so I'm not going to get the exhaust manifold gaskets on today, but at least get the mower deck back on there. So let's get to work. So I'm a bit unorganized. I just walked all the way down to the shop talking to you guys and then realized I'd left my keys up at the house. Arg. The procrastinator in me says, just slap the mower deck on and don't worry about all those grass clippings. You can blow them out at a later date. The problem is it's a lot easier to get the grass clippings out now than it is once the deck's back up under there. And it just means dragging out onto the gravel driveway and doing it. So that's what we're going to do. To do it right, we really need to take these plastic pulley guards off. There's one on this side and one on the other side. There's one removed and the second removed. All right, now let's get the thing blown out. She's looking 100% better now. So I'm willing to put that back on there. I know you're curious to see what the underside looks like, as bad as that looked. You'll be pleasantly surprised. Underside doesn't look that bad. After a bit of dragging of both the mower and the deck, I got it in the relative position. Now it's time to hook the arms up. You want to hook the back arms up first and then the front one. And ideally, I think when you're looking at the arm mount, I think you probably want to have those unhooked there when you lock it in. I'm going to do one of each. On this side, I'm going to unhook the upper arm, and on the other side, I think I can get by without doing that. Hi, buddy bear. How you doing, boy? Yeah. You want to go check the food supply? Come on, let's go check the food supply. Come on, over this way. There you go. You got food. Yeah, you need another scoop? Another scoop. There you go. Does that make you feel better? Yeah, you always like to have one more scoop. Yeah, good bear. Good kitty cat. That's the clip on the left side. So this side's all done. And here's what we're working with on the left side. You can see the arm is disconnected at the front, and then also the mount back there is also disconnected. So I'm going to hook up the rear mount first, and then I'm going to lift the mower deck up so I can get the front mount back up on its tab right there. Both clips installed. Now we need to move on to the front bracket. That metal rod there needs to go through that hole and then connect up to that hole in the mower deck. Easy peasy. That's the easiest one to do. Now it's time to get the belt around the clutch pulley. And pro tip, if you leave those plastic covers off, it helps you because you can make sure your belt is on the pulleys as you're getting everything put back together. So this will just take a few minutes. You just got to pull really hard. There's a belt tensioner, and you pull really hard on one of the pulleys, and that'll let you slip it over the front. I can't really film it and do it at the same time. Another pro tip, if it works, is I went ahead and I took the belt off of this pulley, and I wrapped around the clutch pulley, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to yank on the belt, and that's the tensioner pulley right there, and hope I can pull it back far enough to get it around this one. I can use my feet for leverage against the frame. I think this will be the easier way. As you can see, the mower deck is working just fine. Time to put the plastic covers back on, and I'm not going to bother putting the hood on because I still want to do the exhaust manifold gaskets. I'm just going to have to mow first. Safety guard reinstalled on that side, and guard reinstalled on that side. So we're calling this part of the project done. I'm going to go mow, and maybe we'll get back to the other part later tonight or tomorrow, or we're procrastinating, so who knows when we'll get to it. The mowing's all done. It's about 6 o'clock at night, and I'm debating whether to even get started on this next project. The issue is I have to have the mower tomorrow to go mow our rental property, so I have to get it done. And I still have to barbecue some burgers up tonight, so I don't have a whole lot of time. But I would like to get this done and get the hood back on. So these are the parts that I'm going to be replacing right there. Those are the two brand new ones. So what do we got to do? We got to get the muffler off, and then we've got to get the two exhaust pipes off. And how this all comes apart, I'm not really sure. I'm just going to start removing stuff until we get to it. We need to remove this panel right here. It's kind of a guard, and it looks like there's just one little bolt here and one on the other side, and then the piece will drop down and there's a couple tabs holding it up underneath. So let's try that. There's the guard. It was just like that. Pulled the two bolts and gave it a tap, and it just fell right to the ground. It looks like the muffler is held to this piece here with those three bolts. So if I remove those three bolts, the muffler should drop, and then these pieces here are just press fit in, so they should just slip right out. At least that's what I think. My fear was one of those might be seized up, but they're all coming loose. And just like that, the muffler's off. Alright, now the problem is getting at those bolts right up in there. This one on the outside is going to be pretty easy. The one on the inside, I'm not so sure. There's the one from the left side, and I mean, honestly, I don't see any damage to it. The bolts were just a touch loose. I can't tell. I mean, I don't know if it's leaking or not. I suspect it must be. The black must be showing that. I don't see any problems with the mating surface there. And I don't know if you guys can see up in there. About the best view you can get right there. And I'm not sure there's any problem up in there. I'm going to take a little bit of sandpaper to that surface a little bit just to get any of the carbon off of there, and then we'll put it together with the new gasket and see what happens. I put the new gasket in there. I've got the bolts in finger tight. You can see that's a little bit loose. I'll wait till I get the other side done and the muffler reinstalled, and then I'll tighten those back up, because we've got to make sure that these pieces fit down in the muffler. There's the right exhaust pipe out, and it came out fairly easily, but I had an issue with the bolts. One of the bolts, the one on the left, is an Allen head, and the one on the right is a Torx. The two on the left side must have been Torx. I never even did look in them. The Allen wrench is kind of a sloppy fit in the Torx, but at least it worked, which is good because I don't have a Torx that would fit in there. So the Allen on the left there, God, I guess I must have replaced that at some point. Maybe the other one vibrated out. I truly don't remember. Not a big deal. It'll go back together just fine. I just need to clean up the mating surfaces with the sandpaper, and then I'll get it put back together. Both pipes are back in place. Now it's time to get the muffler back up installed and bolted in. Both exhaust pipes are now tightened back up. Muffler's tightened in place. Everything's good to go. Now let's fire the thing up and see if it's any quieter. If it's not, I'm not sure what to do next. I guess I'm just not going to worry about it. Choke on. The key. Yeah, it really isn't. On the right side, I can put my fingers down there when it's running, and I've got a definite exhaust leak. I can feel it. So it's not that gasket. I wonder if it's the cylinder head itself is just a touch loose. I don't really want to mess with that. I'm not going to mess with it tonight, but I'll have to give that some thought, because I don't know where else it could be coming from. Oh well. What I do know is that, well, I'll put the guards back in place. But as far as all the tools and stuff picking up tonight, yeah, that's not going to happen. The guard for the muffler is back in place. Now we're going to pop the hood on. As I'm putting the hood back on, I see I've got another issue. It's broke. Plastic broke right there. So we'll have to figure out a fix for that. Probably be a couple of zip ties. But we're not going to worry about it tonight. It'll be fine. Who knows how long it's been broke. We will go ahead and hook the electrical back up. Those are my headlights. I reinstalled that guard there. If you remember, we took that off. A little heat shield for the exhaust pipe. And in looking at the other side, I don't think the other side needed one as a reason. It probably doesn't have it. It's a little bit further, there we go, a little bit further away from that, that mount right there. So I think that's what the clearance issue was. Anyway, it never had one, I don't believe. It doesn't look like it ever did. So the hood is back on, and we're calling it done, except down on the, I don't know, can't see him from here. You can see there's a grease fitting there on the spindle. Steering's been getting a little tight, so I'm going to go ahead and give that a shot of grease on both sides, see if that loosens the steering up a little bit. And then we're calling it done for the night. The front spindles are now greased, so we're calling it good. I'm a bit dejected. I was really hoping that changing out those gaskets would solve the exhaust leak, because that means I've got a bigger problem. I don't know what it is. It should be fixed. That being said, the exhaust leak has been going on for more than a season, probably a couple. So I guess it'll probably go the rest of this season, and maybe I'll just wait till the mower is down for the fall and worry about it then. We'll see how motivated we get. Let's move on to more fun stuff. Just when I think the mowing projects are going to be done, they aren't. Two things. One, I went to Harbor Freight yesterday and I bought a couple of the tie-down brackets. We're going to mount them to the trailer so we can hold down the right rear tire, and then that project will be done for now. But when I was mowing the other day, there's two springs underneath the seat on the tractor, so, you know, for suspension. And the right one, the bolt that holds it, broke. So not only do we have to figure out how to get the remaining part of the bolt out, we need to get a new bolt and put it down in there and fix it. So those are the two things we're going to work on, and we're going to get those done before we wrap this video up for the week. One of the advantages to procrastinating is the fact that I didn't unload the mower after I used it yesterday. So that'll help. We'll just leave it on there. I will reposition a bit before we figure out where the mounting brackets go for the rear. These are the two brackets I bought right here. Harbor Freight specials, about $6 a piece. And we had enough nuts and bolts and everything left over from the other tie-down project where we'll be able to put them down. And I suppose I ought to give them a coat of black paint just so they match a little better. First thing we're going to do though is I'm going to back this trailer out of the sun, down in the shade a little bit. I've got the left front tire pretty well centered between the brackets there. So I think I'm going to space the rear ones about like this. Unlike the other brackets that spanned a couple different boards, these are both going to go through one board. A couple reasons for that. One, it kind of lines up better. You notice I'm not centered on the tire, but that's all right. If I move it over to where it's centered on the tire here in the back, then the problem becomes up here when I go to hook the mount up. It's going to be hard getting my hand in there between the tire and the mower deck. So I'd kind of rather have it to the outside just a little bit more. So as it stands now, I think that's where I'm going to go. I need to get my drill and bits and bolts and everything, and let's get started mounting it. Now that the mower is out of the way, that's where they're going, right there. No measuring, just eyeballing. Going to drill some holes. Once the holes are drilled, I'll go ahead and paint those little brackets black. The holes are drilled in the deck. I've got a first coat of paint on these brackets. Going to let them dry in the shade for a little bit, about a half hour. Give them a second coat, put them out in the sun, let them bake a little bit. In the meantime, we'll start work on the mower. So what's the problem? Well, that spring there on the right, that's the problem. Move that up out of the way. See, that spring comes right off. What's supposed to hold that spring is a bolt that's broke. So this one is still held in place just fine. So we've got to get the remaining part of that bolt out. Now, I could use an easy out. That means drilling into the bolt and spinning it out. My success with the easy outs hasn't been that good. And you don't want to break an easy out because you'll never drill one of those suckers. So we're going to pull this one first, see how long the bolt is. Maybe we just need to get down underneath it and spin it back out. I don't suppose it's in there that tight. The problem is, how do you get there? You can't come in through the back. There's a panel there. But it looks like if we pull the battery out, we could reach right in there. But again, before we do that, let's see if there's anything to grab onto on the bottom of that bolt. I don't know if it's good or bad that I never got around to putting the tools away, but having most of the tools out here does make it easier. The bolt on the left is the one out of the other spring. One on the right's a broken one, obviously. So what have we learned? Yeah, there may be a little bit of meat hanging out the bottom of it. I mean, the fact that when that broke off, it didn't break off flush, that means there's quite a bit of meat going out the bottom. What I don't know is it a nut underneath there? Probably. Or is it just a threaded piece of sheet metal? I don't know. I'm going to go ahead and try pulling the battery out, because that's going to be the easiest if it does work. The battery leads are disconnected, and of course I shorted it to the frame first because I didn't look close enough, and I thought that was the negative up there, which that big red cap should have been indicated, but I wasn't paying attention. So anyway, we've got it disconnected now. This little metal piece going across, it's a battery hold down. I need to get that off. Battery's out, and when I reach down underneath there is quite a bit of bolt sticking down. The problem is this bracket comes all the way down. Well, no, actually that's a piece that comes off. I just don't know how I'm going to get up in there, but with a pair of vice grips so I can get up on it and start to spin it. And actually I can spin it either way, in or out. It should work. So let me see what I can find. The good news is I've got a pair of pliers on it. If you look real close, you can see it moves just a little back and forth. The problem is it's not wanting to spin freely. I'm going to try spraying some WD-40 down there. It may be that the top of it is bent just enough to where it's hanging up. We'll see. It's still hanging up a little, and I'm impatient. I've got a Dremel tool and a little carbide bit on the end of it. I'm going to work at it from the top and see if I can clean it up a little bit. I can afford to damage just a little bit of the threads on the top side and not be too concerned. And the goal is to screw it out the bottom. I only worked on it for half a second, and if you can see on this magnet, there's a little chunk there. And that broke right off, so maybe that's all I needed to get rid of was that, and it'll screw out now. I've been having a hard time getting it to do anything from the bottom. I can't keep the pliers on there. I couldn't find my easy outs. I don't know where they are. But what I'm thinking is maybe I can use my tap a die set. I can start to tap the hole, and maybe that'll help pull it out. Because again, I just need to go down or up. It doesn't matter which way. So I've already drilled a hole. 9/64. Let me see if I can find a tapper that'll anywhere close to that size. I can always drill the hole out a little bigger if I need to, but I think that'll work. Drilling it to tap it, to be able to pull it out, it wasn't working real well. I didn't really want to use one of my good taps, so I was using one of my really cheap, not even Harbor Freight quality taps, and it just wasn't getting a bite. I could use some different size drill bits, some numbered ones instead of the fractional ones, and I don't have them. So I got another idea. There was a bolt here and a bolt over here, and I took those out, and it actually kind of moves the whole back of the mower a little bit. So if I can get it up just enough to slide a pair of pliers in there or something, I don't know, but I don't think there's any other bolts towards the back, so I think it'll let me kind of tweak it a little bit. I've kind of been outsmarted because the part that it's threaded into, yeah, you can't really see it. I don't know if I can get a light in there. Yeah, you can just barely see the bottom of the bolt right in there. So the bolt is actually threaded into the other part of the frame, and I was able to lift up the top body panel. But the fact that I can now see it, maybe I can get a pair of pliers in on it and twist it, because before all I could do was by feel, and I was having a hard time. So let's try getting a pair of pliers on it now. I got you, you little bastard. So I was able to, once I could see it, get the vice grips on it, I could screw it downward. So it's out. I think what I want to do is use some grade 8 bolts when I put it back together. And I don't have any, so it's going to be a trip to the hardware store tomorrow. So I think we're done with this part of the project for today. Maybe we can go put the mounting plates on the trailer. Actually, I've changed my mind. I think what I'll do is I'll go ahead and get this bolted back down, get the battery back in it. So I'll be all ready to go tomorrow morning. And same with the mounts that are out there drying. Let them dry overnight so they're good and hard before I start scratching them up with bolts and stuff. So we can finish this up on Sunday. Of course, as I'm trying to bolt the body back down the frame, you can see things are tweaked just a little bit. So I need to get that better lined up. So that's going to be a bit of a struggle. Not sure how I'm going to get that held into place while I screw it, but I'll work it out. I was able to get it shifted back into place. Got those two bolts. This one, that one. Battery's back in. Now it's time to put the battery hold down in place. Battery hold down, one end goes there. Across the battery. Upright. Like that. And push! Alright, that's back in place. Now let's get the battery connections hooked back up. Battery connections hooked back up. So we're going to call it a day. We'll come back Sunday, finish this up. Sunday is also when I put the video out, so that makes more work. Not only do I have to finish doing the actual work, but then I've got to do the editing. And as piss poor as it may be, it still is a lot of work. So we'll see you in the morning. It's Sunday, around noon, getting kind of a late start. On my way home from the hardware store. Just bought 2 replacement bolts for the springs for the lawnmower seat. So we're going to go home and get those installed. Check out those 2 beauties on the right. The one on the left is the original one. They are metric threaded. And these are a 10.9 bolt versus the 8.8. 10.9 is more of a grade 8 equivalent in metric. So we'll get those springs mounted. We'll put a little bit of blue Loctite on there to help keep from having them loosen up. Got the first one installed. Now to move on to the second one. Second one hasn't lined up quite right, so I'm going to have to put some down in there and get the hole aligned. And then I found that just by pushing down on this, that it'll stay in place. It wasn't going as planned, so I decided to grind down the end of it, which is the way the factory bolt was. Unfortunately, what I should have done is I should have screwed that nut on there first so I could clean the threads up when I pulled it off. And I didn't think I had a nut that would fit. Of course, I went and did the grinding, and then I looked, and sure enough, I had a nut. And it's not like it was even hidden. It was right there. Yeah, look at that. It's screwed right in there. I was worried about nothing. All right, now let's go put it in place. Bam, we're done. All right, back to the trailer. The painted brackets have been outside since yesterday evening. They're as dry as they're gonna get. Oh, that was funny. They're like a hot potato. Yeah, they've been out in the sun, they're black, and they're hot. I just picked them up and started walking with them. Damn near dropped them, but I got them up to the trailer. The fact that I know I did a sloppy job of drilling the holes yesterday, I'm gonna open up the holes a little bit bigger, 2 sizes bigger than the 1/4 inch, so they'll kind of lay like I want them to. Otherwise, they're gonna, at least that one for sure is gonna be crooked, but probably both of them. When you're working alone, you sometimes have to get creative. Since I can't reach the top and the bottom at the same time, I need something to keep the nut from spinning. So, got that screwdriver, and as I turn from the top, that pair of vice grips will spin around against the shank, and then I'll be able to tighten it down. At least that's the plan. Of course, that means I got to come under here a total of 8 times and readjust, but hey, that's what you do when you're working by yourself. All right, the first 4 are done. Yes, 4 trips underneath. Now, you're right. If I'd gotten some more vice grip pliers, I could have done it in less trips underneath. And I do have more vice grip pliers. I could have done that. I just weighed whether it was worth going and getting them or doing it this way. And the other way, I'm sure would have been faster, but I'm doing it this way anyway, because I'm stubborn. There they are, both bolted down. And if you look real close, you can see I dinged the pane a little bit. It is what it is. Now, the question is, OCD. Is it bugging you like it's bugging me? Maybe we need to install another 2 to the right there, equal distance. I mean, they may be handy for tying other things down in the future. I don't know. I'm not going to worry about today, but it's something to think about. I guess it's time. We're going to get this mess all cleaned up. I'll show you when I'm done so you know that I did it. See, I've got more mess over here. See, I got here all the tools picked up off the floor, all the trash from over there too. And that I got, the stuff that I used during this project I got cleaned up. There's some stuff that needs to be gone through. Even took care of the dirt from the pile the other day from underneath the mower. And there you go. Fits like a glove. Able to hold down the right rear and the left front. Now realize I'm only towing this trailer about 2 miles as the crow flies, and I wouldn't be afraid to go cross town with this setup. Cross country, maybe I'd put some more straps on, but honestly, one front, one rear, as much as the thing weighs, it's not going anywhere. Okay, whether you like it or not, we're calling this a wrap on this week's Procrastination Garage. What did we do? We basically just did mower stuff. Not real exciting, but stuff that needed to be done. And the trailer. We got the trailer in better shape for towing it. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Procrastination Garage. Tell your friends, like it, subscribe, do whatever you got to do. I hope to see you next week. I hope to have a video out next week, but I'm doing pretty good once a week. My name is Matt, and down in the comments, tell me what you're working on, or better yet, what you're not working on if you're procrastinating watching YouTube videos when you should be out in your garage or shop or whatever. So y'all take care.